Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today our group are going to present a Southeast Asian scholars named Buya Hamka. Before that, my name is Muhammad Asif AIMAN bin Ismail 1191179. Okay. Next, I'm going to present about his background, Hamka background. His full name is Haji Abdul Malik bin Abdul Karim Amrullah bin Abdullah bin Saleh. He is the first children among 4 siblings. In reality, Hamka was an acronym for his full name, which H refers to Haji, A refers to Abdul, M refers to Malik, K refers to Karim, and A refers to Abdullah. Hamka was really respected among the people because of his expertness in many aspects, such as philosophy, religion, Islamic law, literature, and much more. He was born in Kampung Molek, Maninjau, West Sumatra, Indonesia on February 17 in 1908 or 14 Muharram in 1326 Hijrah. Hamka passed away at exactly 10:40 a.m. Friday, July 24 in 1981 on 22 Ramadan at the age of 73 years and 5 months. Okay, next, I'm going to talk about Buya Hamka timeline. In 1907, Buya Hamka was born with the name Professor Dr. Haji Abdul Malik bin Abdul Karim Amrullah bin Abdullah bin Saleh. He come from a quite famous family in Minangkabau. He was born in Kampung Molek, Maninjau, West Sumatra, Indonesia. Okay, this is Maninjau from West Sumatra. Okay, next, in 1924, at the age of 16, he actively moved into Jakarta from West Sumatra for Islamic movement. He also met with well-known Indonesian scholars such as Jakoro Minato and Haji Fakhruddin. For your information, from West Sumatra to Jakarta takes 1,206 kilometers. Next, in 1925, he returned to Padang in West Sumatra Panjang from Jakarta at the age of 17 and developed talent as an actor. In 1927, at the age of 19, he started traveling to Mecca and learned Arabic art, while at the age of 20 years old, he published her first book entitled Siti Sabaria. In 1929, Hamka was married by his father's choice, and in order to please his father, he complied and married Siti Raham bin Endah Sultan on 5 April 1929 when he was 20 years old and his wife was 15 years old. Next, in 1972, the marriage lasted until 43 years before his wife died in 1972, and they had 12 children. After that, Hamka was married to Hajah Siti Khadijah and only had time with her for 8 years until Hamka died in 1981. In 1981, Hamka passed away exactly at 10:40 a.m. Friday, July 24th in 1921, 22 Ramadan, 1401 Hijrah in Jakarta at the age of 73 and 5 months. Following his death, Hamka body was taken to his final resting place, accompanied by thousands of people, a mass of people in vehicles, and well as on foot, marched 3 kilometers long, accompanying his body from the Al-Azhar Grand Mosque to Tanah Kusir Public Cemetery. Next, his education background. In 1915, even after the age of 7, he enrolled in a school, Sekolah SMKA Sultan Muhammad, and studied general science such as numeracy and literacy. 1917, he also studied in Dinia School every afternoon, but since his father enrolled him in Sumatra, Tawalep, in 1918, he could not longer attend classes at the village school. He quit after graduating 2 classes. After that, he studied at Dinia School every morning, while in the afternoon and evening studying in Tawalib, back at the mosque. He was caught by his father borrowing books from his teacher library, and it was not related with his study in Tawalib. And his father scolded him and said, "Are you going to be a pious person or become a storyteller?" in an effort to prove himself to his father, and as a result of his contact with the book he was reading about the appeal of Central Java, causing Hamka to be interested to migrate to island of Java or Jawa. At the same time, he was no longer interested in completing education at Tawaleb. After studying for 4 years, he decided to get out of Tawaleb, while the school educational program is designed for 7 years. 1922, Hamka was taken to Parabek, about 5 kilometers from Pengkalan, to learn with AIMAN Ibrahim Wong, but did not last long. He preferred to follow his heart, to seek knowledge and experience in his own way. He decided to leave for Java. However, the first attempt was discovered by his father. His writing journey. His first writing was a book entitled Siti Sabaria. After published Siti Sabaria, he also wrote another book entitled Sumatera Tawaleb, an Islamic reform movement in Minangkabau, which led by his own father. He has written several magazines and journals. He has extensively reflected his interest in language, reading and writing. Hamka has been producing 84 books in about 57 years. Hamka has also left documents in the areas of Islamic study, history, culture, and history. The book entitled Tafsir al-Azhar is Hamka's most important work that puts it in position which led scholars rarely achieve. According to Hamka remarks, Tafsir al-Azhar had been influenced by many other similar books. Hamka said, together, two of Hamka greatly influenced books are Tafsir al-Manar by Rashid al-Rida and Fil Zilali Quran by Said al-Khutub, and Hamka Tafsir al-Azhar. In his career, Hamka often criticized Minangkabau practices at the time in his fictional book, which were not only entirely in line with the Shariat, but also proved to be an issue for the community. Hamka has written at least 3 biographies throughout his life. First was named Ayahku, and the second was called Kenangan-Kenangan Hidup. Another biographical work that Hamka wrote was the book entitled Siti Jamaluddin Al-Afghani. Value in his work. Hamka makes a burden of book with variety of genre, with purpose to guide readers becoming a good person and have a noble character. Therefore, we know that Hamka roles is providing knowledge and values to educate people. Literature is something defined as anything written. However, we can surely distinguish between literature in sense of any writing and literature in sense of verbal of work of art.
Next, we move on to the next topic, which is Buya Hamka contribution toward Islamic education. Firstly, his da'wah career journey. Hamka is a persistent intellectual trying to change the pattern of life from the traditional to modern based on Islam. In order to defend this truth, he often faced with various objections and obstacles. One of the biggest challenges he faced is when he was arrested and put in prison by Sukarno, who is Indonesian president at that time. However, Hamka considered it as a challenge in order to achieve his goal. Hamka began his first career in da'wah by involving himself in Muhammadiyah organization in 1924. In 1927, he becomes a religious teacher in Perkebungan Tebing Tinggi, Medan. After that, in 1929, he became a religious teacher in Padang Panjang. In 1957 to 1958, he has been appointed as a lecturer in University Islam Jakarta and appointed as a professor at University Mustafa Jakarta. From 1951 to 1960, he served as a high religious officer by Minister of Religion Indonesia, but resigned when Sukarno ordered him to choose between being a state official or being active in politics. The next point is his da'wah method. As we know, Buya Hamka played an important role in spreading Islam to the people, especially people in Indonesia. Buya Hamka used a few methods in his da'wah that became the factor of his successful in the field of da'wah. We also can practice his methods when performing our da'wah. There are three methods that Buya Hamka used in delivering his da'wah to spread Islam. The first method is da'wah by talking, bil lisan. Hamka is active in promoting Islam throughout Indonesia. He gave his religious lectures on Radio Republic Indonesia and appeared on television of the Republic of Indonesia. This is a platform where Hamka wisdom answers the problem raised by people from various groups. When Hamka gave a talk at RRI or at TVRI, at first Hamka received a lot of complaints from Muhammadiyah citizens. Muhammadiyah want all answer with the establishment of Muhammadiyah and understand based on Quran and Hadith. Hamka responded that he gave an explanation at RRI and TVRI that was heard and witnessed by all Indonesians from various groups. Hamka not only spread his da'wah and taught in Indonesia only, but he also has received invitation from several well-known Islamic countries such as Mesir and also Saudi Arabia to give talk and also spreading their da'wah. The second method is da'wah bil kitabah, which is by writing. Da'wah bil kitabah, Hamka began since he liked to read. In addition to writing often in newspaper and in magazine. Hamka's writing career began in January 1936 when he was asked to become editor-in-chief at a magazine in Medan. In addition to his activity as editor-in-chief in a magazine, he also diligently writes religious message in newspaper and magazine. Hamka read a lot of books, Sufism, philosophy and morals. In the Sufism and morals, he was influenced by Imam al-Ghazali's way of thinking, especially from the book Ihya Ulumuddin. So he wrote a book on modern Sufism, philosophy of life, living institution and others. The third method is da'wah bil hal, which is by act. Hamka, in terms of religious studies, he has succeeded as a reformer of religious thought in Indonesia. First, Hamka concentrate on the development of tasawwuf in Indonesia. As an active clerk in the Muhammadiyah movement, Hamka rejected mythology and irrational aspect, which only weakened Tawheed. In his work, Islam and Spirituality, Hamka strongly criticized practice that emphasized an unreasonable mythological dimension. Hamka was not only a reformer of Islamic thought, but he was a fighter in eradicating communists. Buya Hamka is a very persistent figure in moving and defending Islam. Not only that, but also in educating the children of the nation. Hamka, highly respected personality, makes many people want to imitate his attitude and nature in various aspects. The third point is other scholars' view to Buya Hamka. There are many scholars who give their view on Hamka, but I choose 4 scholars that give a good view on him. Firstly, Muttaqin. He said that Hamka never studied in a formal school. He learns more from his father, Dr. Abdul Malik Amrullah, and his brother-in-law, Buya Mansur, and read on his own. But his knowledge is very deep. He studied through Arabic, and his knowledge about the Arabic language is already included in the ranks of Arabic writers because he has been able to delve into literary works in the Arabic language, and he can create it anyway. Lots on review, poems, and Arabic prose, both classical and modern. Secondly, A. Hasjimi, a scholar, writer, and former governor Aceh, has commented on Hamka's contribution. He said that Buya Hamka, who lived about 300 years after Hamzah Mansuri, is a great scholar. A commentator who has settled his interpretation during the decease in the custody of the old order. The historian who has authored many books. A journalist with a very sharp questionnaire. Mystic or philosopher famous with his modern tasawwuf. thinkers and discussants who are quick to respond like, which I often witness in various seminars. The leader of the people who have a tough stance, an orator who, if oratory, making his listeners glue in place. Third is Dr. Siti Suryani Osman, who is a lecturer at UC. She said that specifically for educators, Hamka gives some qualities that need to be present, namely knowledge and wide association, as well as being able to distinguish between good and bad. Hamka also stressed the need for educators to ensure high personal integrity, diversify teaching methods, and strive to understand the difference in ability among students. Indeed, Hamka's contribution cannot be summarized as concisely as a few hundred words in this snippet. Lastly, Ridwan Saidi. He said that Hamka is an example that is not enough to say with 1,000 words. No matter how much Hamka writes about the goodness, there are still many who do not reveal. The last point for this topic is Hamka's contribution to Islam. Firstly, the contribution and legacy of Hamka in the liberation struggle. Hamka fight for liberation in his work. Liberation in the work of Hamka can be divided into three dimensions, namely liberation of faith, liberation of thought, and social liberation. Liberation of faith is an effort to purify monotheism with the purpose of freeing the individual and the ummah from obedience to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The liberation of thought is divided into three, namely liberation from blind imitation, liberation from lust, and liberation from materialism. Social liberation is also divided into three, namely the enforcement of justice, which means liberation from tyranny, liberation from Minangkabau custom, and the protection of the marginalized, which also means liberation from oppression. Secondly, contribution and legacy of Hamka in the Islamic movement. His active involvement in the Islamic movement is a factor of Hamka's contribution to the development of da'wah in the archipelago. Through the Muhammadiyah movement, Hamka perpetuates its idea and da'wah struggle. Among the main effort of Muhammadiyah is to provide alternative education based on Islam to the people, especially children and the younger generation. Through the Muhammadiyah movement, Hamka immortalized the struggle of his life as a preacher by using various vehicles such as thought, study classes, and writing. He is also involved in Masyumi, which stands for Majlis Syura Muslimin Indonesia. Thirdly, contribution and legacy of Hamka in politics and administration. Hamka became a religious teacher at Perkebungan Tebing Tinggi, Medan in 1927. In 1929, he worked as a religious teacher in Padang Panjang. Hamka also had experience as a lecturer at the Islamic University of Jakarta and Muhammadiyah University Padang Panjang in 1957 to 1958. In 1975, he accepted the position of head of the Indonesian Ulama Council from 1975 to 1981. Hamka resigned in May 1981 because of his firm support for a fatwa banning Muslims from attending Christmas celebration in church. Lastly, contribution and legacy of Hamka in education. Hamka has made significant contribution in education, including in the science of history. Among the historical works he wrote are Sejarah Umat Islam, Sejarah Islam di Sumatera, and Dari Perbendaharaan Lama.
I will continue to the next chapter, which are the challenges of Hamka becoming a great Islamic scholar. There are various obstacles and challenges that Hamka had to face in his effort to spread the message around the world. First of all, problem of differing opinions in religious affairs. This is because Hamka is a member of the Muhammadiyah Association, which this group is considered to be young people. Details of the problem religion are different from the brother from Nahdlatul Ulama. When Hamka gave lecture, at first he received many reprimands from Muhammadiyah members who wanted everything to be answered with Muhammadiyah stand and understanding of the Quran and Hadith. but he responded that he gave an explanation which are heard and witnessed by all Indonesian people from the various groups. He was a very loyal Muhammadiyah follower, but he was not awkward among NU Persis al-Wasliyah and al-Irshad circles. Second, political problems going on Egypt and its beloved homeland. This is because the political temperature in Egypt warmed up by the merger of the Republic of Egypt with the Republic of Syria in February 1958, as well as the hustle and bustle of Al-Azhar University that caused the plan to confer the title Ustaziyah Fakriyah to Hamka is hampered. But at the same time, he decided to return home due to the political turmoil in the country and found his birthplace in great danger due to the revolt of the Indonesian revolutionary government in Sumatra. Finally, the award of the honorary title was handed over to him in April 1958. The last challenges is the sinking of Wanderwich ship accused of plagiarism and Hamka perfecting Sukarno's wheels. This is because this work is accused of being plagiarized from a foreign work written by Alfonso K, a French writer. This accusation was made by an Indonesian writer named Pramodia Anantatoir, as known as Pram. However, Hamka did not respond to the accusation from Pram and just keep quiet. Arriving finally, an unexpected thing happens when Pram sent his son-in-law to study religion with Hamka, and Hamka accepted it as a reconciliation. The truth to prove Hamka's innocence when he was imprisoned when it was confirmed by Sukarno himself, when he bequeathed Hamka to be the imam for his funeral prayers. After that, the achievement of Hamka becoming a great Islamic scholar. First, he managed to remove doubts and confusion in non-Muslims and Muslims. Hamka lectures non-Muslim and Muslim about the true teaching of Islam through the medium of TVRI, Television Republic of Indonesia, RRT, Radio Republic of Indonesia, and dormant in his own way, and managed to attract many people of the non-Muslim to Islam, and all teachings that are contrary to the true teachings of Islam can be disabled and even eliminated. Second, succeeded in crippling ideologies or teaching that contradicted the true teaching of Islam, such as superstition, heresy, tariqat, and mysticism that flourished among the community, especially in Padang Panjang at that time, which he later succeeded in leading the Muhammadiyah branch in Padang Panjang in 1928. In addition, he once again succeeded in producing many preachers through the center that he established in Makassar, Sulawesi, Indonesia, which is accelerating the development of Islam based on the Quran and Sunnah. Lastly, he successfully produced many books and magazines related to Da'wah and Islam, such as the book Pedoman Mubalik Islam printed in 1937, Muhammadiyah Talk 3H in 1956, Philosophy of Islamic Ideology in 1950, and others, which his work is still considered relevant at this point. However, among the famous books that he succeeded to produce and write when he was imprisoned for 2 years and 4 months, which was the book Tafsir al-Azhar, which is his glorious work. This book is not only interesting and relevant to the community, but this book also one of the largest reference in Malaysia among educators, which is of great benefit to Muslims today and to uphold the sanctity of Islam.
Next. continue to analyze Buya Hamka on published books. His name is Haji Abdul Malik Karim Abdullah. There are many famous authors of the literary work. Dr. Haji Abdul Malik Karim Abdullah, or well known as Buya Hamka, is an exemplary and aspiring entrepreneur who had devoted his life for people, the nation, and the change of a better world. Even though Hamka is one of figures life in the past, but his masterpiece in form of literary works are not only useful in the past. Hamka is a role model for all eras because his contactivity and his strong character in maintaining his principle. Through his literary works, Buya Hamka delivers some moral values in life, such as forgiving people and maintaining his belief in any situation of life. So the first is Falsafah Hidup. And this is the book Falsafah Hidup or Philosophy of Life was written by Hamka in the 20th century. The main focus that headlined by Hamka in this book are about the life, the purpose, and the human ability to use their akal in our daily life. This book has total 9 chapters that in every chapter gives us a great lesson of life. In the first chapter, he described commonly about life. This chapter also talks about the responsibility of human given akal to use it wisely, being rational. In the third chapter, Hamka talks about the natural law and how people obey the natural law. The fourth told us about the courteousness, the fifth about the simplicity, about the courage, nobility, justice, friendship have been explained in the sixth. In the 6th, 7th, and 8th chapter, meanwhile the last chapter was about the Islam as a way of life. There are many noteworthy thoughts that Hamka was penned in this book. One of them is he stated that freedom of mind is the biggest point of one mind advancement. One with the freedom of mind will not be influenced by others, but will be people that have clear thinking on things in various situations. Hamka said, "Remember, you too will ensure independence and freedom. No one can buy it, even with gold as big a mountain. One with freedom of mind will have the audacity to speak up and defend their rational and thinking." So, Buya Hamka is a person who has an advanced thinking, conveying his ideas to work in the form of writing. Since the age of 17, Buya Hamka has started creating works in both book and magazines. These works cover the field of religion, Sufis, philosophy, Islamic history, jurisprudence, literature, and tafsir. Buya Hamka argues that a person whose noble morals is a person who always does good and right deeds, and always tries to fight the rules of things that are not right or divine. Buya Hamka also says that morality is a noble nature found in human being taken from the teachings of anything brought by the prophets that is to impious God. Thank you. That's all from me.
So now we are going to the last part of our presentation, which is the conclusion. Before that, my name is Ahmad Nazran bin Abdul Fattah, number matric 1191199. Buya Hamka, or his real name is Professor Dr. Haji Abdul Malik bin Abdul Karim Amrullah, is a great scholar and figure in the field of writing and orator that have left us. However, Hamka has given his great devotion to all the people. He was also a reformist figure like his father and was a symbol of freedom in the chaos of the society. He also has left us 103 published works that have given a great impact to the development of the society. This is the example of his great publishers' work. The first one is Tafsir al-Azhar. Next is the Falsafah Hidup. And the third one is Prinsip dan Kebijaksanaan Dakwah Islam. And the last one is about his father, which is Ayahku. In conclusion, Buya Hamka is a well-respected and famous person in the world, especially in the Nusantara. As the leader of the Indonesian Ulama Council before his resignation, Hamka always based his wisdom on the basis of love. It can be seen that how Hamka actually longs for harmony and peace and togetherness among the community. He never showed the personality of a person who is picky and loves everyone fairly. Familiarity with society has always been built by Buya Hamka through a cultural approach that has merged with his soul and spirit. Buya Hamka's word, deeds and works has given a big impact to the society. The spirit of journalism that he had since he was young was still flowing in Buya Hamka's body. His love for the work of journalism continued until the end of his life. So that's all from us. Thank you.